Closed doors, I'm a fool for your love.
Hey everybody, it's Zach, aka Zach's Reviews. We are back again with another video, and guys, I can't believe it, but today was Black Widow Day. I'm just super happy, super excited. A few minutes ago, I just got back from the theater. For the people that have followed me on my YouTube channel and on my Instagram, I've been posting a lot on Instagram, letting you guys know this review was coming. Of course, this is going to be a spoiler review, so if you have yet to see Black Widow, go see Black Widow, and then come back here to this channel to watch this review. Hopefully, you guys join the channel, or hopefully, you guys are already subscribed to the channel. But if not, please subscribe to the channel and put in those notifications like this video. But guys, I just can't believe this movie finally came out. It has got pushed and pushed and pushed back. And, we finally got it. We finally got our Black Widow movie. Scarlett Johansson, kills it each and every time when she plays Black Widow. But specifically, this time for her having her own solo movie and, really getting to dive deep into this role. And for us to get, we've heard, her, journeys that she's went on before, and all these other movies of Marvel movies. But we finally get to see those moments that she's mentioned before in all these movies, specifically Avengers 1, when she talks about, Budapest. We see, what she was talking about, in this movie. Even though this is a movie that it takes place between Civil War and Infinity War, there's a lot of answers we get leading into her going into Infinity War, and there's a lot of answers where we wonder where she is after Civil War when she's on the run, and we get those moments. And I just love the Easter eggs that they had of Budapest, and, when we're on our journey in this movie, we start this movie off literally with learning who Natasha was when she was a kid, learning, about Yelena when she was a kid, and we also get to learn more about, Red Guardian, and also get to learn more about, I forget their names right now, Melina, and also, which is the mom character played by Rachel Weisz, and also, David Harbour's character, Alexei. So, we see, aka Red Guardian. So, seeing them as the parents of, Natasha and Yelena, and seeing them how, they've played roles, and, it's been, I guess, a mission that they've pretty much were an assignment they were put on to be their parents. And, I guess, out of all this time, Natasha knew that they were never her parents in her heart. She kind of knew that. And also, pretty much because she knew about, I guess they had to take pictures, and they did, different seasons and different holidays. They did, they did Easter, they did Christmas, they did Halloween, and they took photos. And she knew that nothing was in the box, but, for her, she almost wanted it to be real, by her opening the presents, but they weren't. But in a way, she knew that was the closest family she was going to have, because she knew that those weren't her real parents. But together, but all together, Yelena, doesn't want to think that. She says that it was real to her, that family, even though Natasha doesn't find it to be real. Yelena, says, "You were my mom, you were my dad, you were my sister, this was real to me." And we get to see, Yelena's journey of her being a Black Widow still, and the Red Room still being, a thing, even though Natasha says that, she took out, Dreykov, she took out Dreykov's daughter, as, that's a big, callback to, Avengers 1 with Loki, how he said, you killed Dreykov's daughter, you have a lot of red in your ledger, and we get more of that, hearing that, of, her red ledger, and, also, coming back around of, her, so-called killing Dreykov, and that goes back to the whole Budapest thing with, Hawkeye, his mission was to take out Black Widow, but I guess she said, "You help me take out Dreykov, and my freedom, I'll become a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent," and they both work together to take out Dreykov, but they also take out Dreykov's daughter. I guess that was the casualty of taking out Dreykov, but little do we know that Dreykov is still alive, and is still in charge of the Red Room, and, Yelena knows that, but Black Widow, Natasha doesn't. So, it all goes back to, when Natasha's on the run from, Thunderbolt Ross because of the Sokovia Accords, and, her, betraying, I guess, the Accords, and betraying Iron Man, aka Tony, she's on the run doing her thing, and, she's just trying to get away from everything. She's done being Avenger. She wants to go back home and pretty much, stay, off the grid. She knows she's done. But little do we know, she's not done because, she's in Infinity War, she's in Endgame, and she's not done with that family with the Avengers. So, while she's doing that, and Yelena is still being a Black Widow, and she's on a mission to take out an ex-Black Widow that is no longer brainwashed and knows the truth about the Red Room and knows that they're being controlled. It's actually more than what we've seen with, Bucky before, with, the words that put him in the brainwashed state. They're using chemicals to literally put them in the sunken place, so Dreykov could literally use them as soldiers, and they know that they're doing it, but yet they have no recollection of using their own body. They're being controlled, and she ends up finding that out when she's going after this Black Widow. And next thing I guess this Black Widow cures her, and from this red mist, and it's an antidote to get them out of their to get them out of this spell, essentially. So we see that happen, and she ends up pretty much, holy crap, she's pretty much guilty for what she did. The Black Widow that tried saving her is the one that she was, she got sent out, to kill by Dreykov. Told her to kill that girl, that ex-Black Widow. So she was like, I got this, I had to assassinate this girl, but she was the Black Widow that got me out of this spell, got me away from Dreykov, you know what I mean? So and she pretty much sends the vials of the cure to get them out of the spell, essentially. She sends it to Natasha while she's on the run, and she's staying low key. And, she pretty much gets pulled back into all this drama and all this action. She's being pulled back into her past. And it was really cool to see that happen, because we ended up running into Taskmaster, because the Taskmaster protocol got set up pretty much, from Dreykov. That was a protocol to take out Yelena, because she's been compromised, and pretty much he has yet to know that Black Widow, Natasha, is back in the game too, because he couldn't go after her because she was an Avenger, so he couldn't even, they'll avenge her if she dies. So that's why he kind of ignored Black Widow for all those years, even though she tried killing him and she thinks she killed him. But, a little bit before that, we get a cool montage before any of all this modern day stuff. I'm all over the place, guys. This was a 2-hour movie, so I'm just jumping all over the place. But, going in the beginning of when we find out, how they get split up when they were kids, and, and they try to get away at first, because the government found out that, they had, Russian, spies in the U.S., and, they found out, so pretty much they go back to Russia, and pretty much, they get split up, I guess, Natasha's already been in the Red Room as a kid, but I guess, Yelena was going to the Red Room, and Natasha didn't want that happening, but of course they got split up, and, she just thought when she took out, Dreykov in the Red Room that, her sister would just get out and live her life and be free, but essentially that's not what happened. She's still a widow, and things have happened to her. And she ends up finding that out when she goes against Taskmaster, which, she ends up going to get gas, essentially, for her motorized home. And, it's crazy because while that's happening, she ends up running into Taskmaster, and, going into this movie, I was really excited for Taskmaster. I'm a big fan of Taskmaster, and to see him in this movie kicking ass, and, people, when they saw this movie, that got to see this movie early, were talking mad crap about the movie. At the end of the day, it's their personal opinion. But, me going into this, I've been waiting for this movie for a very long time. Ever since, the Black Widow character, stepped foot into in Iron Man 2, I've been a fan of hoping for one of her solo movies. And we're finally getting it, and I knew I was going to ignore all the stuff they were saying. I knew it was their personal opinions, but I was going into this being like, I love the trailers, I love the character, I love what they're trying to set up here, and her backstory, and we're going to learn some things that she's hinted at. And, and also jumping into, we want to know what she did after Civil War leading into Infinity War. And we finally get that answers, guys, in this story of, she ends up fighting Taskmaster on the bridge. Taskmaster, she ends up learning that he's able to mimic her moves. And that was really cool to see all that play out. It's like, Taskmaster is in a room, pretty much watching all these videos on every Avenger, on Hawkeye, Black Panther, Spider-Man, everybody, and we see all those elements in this movie, and I really love that. We see him taking everything, he's in this movie specifically. We see him use his Black Panther's capabilities, we see him use Hawkeye's capabilities, we see him use Captain America's capabilities, Black Widow, everybody. Those are the main ones we really see, and seeing him, kick ass, seeing Taskmaster kick ass is phenomenal. And I really enjoyed it. This movie did not disappoint me in the action, in the story, in the acting, especially. Florence Pugh did a phenomenal job playing Yelena. I could believe she could take over the Black Widow mantle and be a Young Avenger. I could really see that happening. That would be sick because the Young Avengers are coming, and you could see them especially the end credit scene. They're setting up the Young Avengers and the Thunderbolts. They're setting all that stuff up. They've been doing it, especially in this phase. That's what they're getting into is the Young Avengers, which I'm really excited for. By the way, guys, that's my little brother. You might hear yelling. Sorry about that, guys. But literally, so seeing that character, I could believe that she could take over as the next Black Widow. That's what they were really trying to do in this movie. And it didn't, that character didn't overshine over, Natasha's story of this is her solo movie. But it's also like she's, they're all co-leads, essentially, because we need to see her be able to take over that mantle. And I love that. No one shies over one or another. They're all so perfect. And they get perfect screen time, and no one overshadows one another. It's all just great acting, great storytelling, and I love it. We see, that we can see her just taking over the Black Widow mantle, and I really, really enjoyed that. That she didn't overshadow Black Widow, but yet she was a co-lead and kicking ass and being badass, and just seeing that we could believe that she could take over that mantle and see where, and because she's going to be in the phase for a while, so it's getting starting going forward, which I'm really excited to see more about her character. And also I'm really excited to see more of Red Guardian, of Alexei, because I would like to see, because we saw a young Alexei in the beginning of this movie, but I would like to see a Disney Plus series of Alexei being Red Guardian, because he was talking about he was making up stories about him fighting Captain America, and one guy because we know he's in prison from all the trailers and stuff. So, when he's in prison and stuff, he's making up, stories about, I fought Captain America, I beat him, this and that, I used his shield, used it like a blanket to protect him against me, and one guy's like, that's impossible, Captain America was frozen. He's like, you think I'm lying, my stories are lies? And it was funny, because he's just arm wrestling people, and he's just, breaking their arms and stuff. It's just funny. He's using a super soldier serum as a funny goof, pretty much. He's a very funny character, and you can't take him seriously. He's literally, he wants to be that, what Captain America is, but, he wants to be better. He's like, I could have been better than Captain America if I wasn't sent to prison, and, I could have beaten Captain America if I would have fought him, this, and that. But he's going with the stories of, I fought Captain America before, but yet it doesn't make sense because he was frozen in ice. But I do love that. I would love to see if that was actually true, and if they actually did fight at one time, and we would see that in, a Disney Plus series. If they did that, Chris Evans would come back to do something like that. I think that'd be cool. But I would just love to see a Red Guardian series or a movie. I really like that character. So, I would really like to see more of that. But going into more of the story, after she fights Taskmaster, and Taskmaster defeats her, essentially, Natasha, because, he did catch her very off guard. She ends up going in the water, ends up pretty much tracking down, Yelena, and they have, of course, a rumble in the apartment building back in Budapest, because that's where she has to go, because that's where Yelena went to hide. And I guess she only went there so Natasha wouldn't go there and bring the vials with her, but that's what Natasha did. So, I'll be right back, guys. I want to tell my brothers and sisters to be quiet, so I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, guys. Sorry about that, but, going back into, everything that's going on, I would just love to see a series with, Red Guardian. But after we catch up with, Yelena, and Natasha finds out she's in Budapest, and, she wants to find out more about these vials that, Yelena sent, and she hasn't seen Yelena in years, ever since, they split up when they were younger. So, of course, going into this, she's on the run. She's like, why, one, did you get me involved in this when I'm already doing something myself? And two, what's going on with, these vials, and what's going on with everything? Because, again, Natasha thinks that there's no more widows and there's no more Red Room. She thinks that she took out, Dreykov and everything was done with. But little did she know, her sister's still been in the program, and things have gone a hell of a lot worse. So, we see more of that, and she's like, when she gets to, Budapest, we see her go to the apartment place that she's been at, where she stayed, I guess, with, I guess it was the place she's been before. So we end up seeing her go there, and of course, Yelena's like, I know you're out there, and she's like, why, of course they're doing their whole, because again, she doesn't know what's going to happen. She knows how dangerous she is and all that stuff. So, of course, Black Widow has her guard up, Natasha. So she ends up going in there. They end up fighting, and I guess, Natasha says, truce. They end up stopping, and she's like, "What's the deal?" And she's like, "Why'd you?" And she's like, "What's all this? I'm on the run right now. What's going on?" And she's like, and of course, Yelena is explaining, these vials, get us out of our, pretty much gets us out of being controlled by, Dreykov. And she's like, "I thought Dreykov was dead." She's like, "No, the Red Room's still around. The Widows are still around. Things are worse. There's a ton of them. And, I killed an ex-Widow that pretty much set me free." And, all this. She's just catching, Natasha up to speed on what's going on. And Natasha has yet to tell, Yelena about Taskmaster, but she already knows about Taskmaster and all that stuff, but she doesn't know that he's been sent. But pretty much he only went after Natasha in the first place is because of those vials. He was sent out there to take out the vials, take out Yelena, but the vials got sent to Natasha, and pretty much dragged Natasha into all this stuff again, into her past of, Budapest, and, Yelena, and, Alexei, and, I always forget the mother's name, Rachel Weisz's character's name. I don't know why, but I do, guys. But I just, I'm gonna go back on IMDb and figure out, her name. Sorry about that, guys. It's been a long day. But let me find it. Melina. She's getting sucked back in, and of course there's a big fight sequence. The Widows come in, they ended up tracking Yelena and, Natasha and all that stuff, and they end up trying to take them out. And it's a big chase scene, as we saw in the clip of the big chase sequence where they're running on the rooftop, and they end up getting in the car, and the other Widows are chasing them, trying to take them out. And of course, we end up seeing Taskmaster. They end up taking out the Widows, but Taskmaster comes out the cuts in this big Humvee and ends up taking out all these cars. My sister looked over to me and said to me, "Is this Fast and the Furious?" I said, "Don't even start. This world was made for shit like this. Like, Fast and Furious is on some whole nother crazy ass level where it makes no sense. We went to street racing to crazy bullcrap." I said, "Don't even start." I'm like, "You're trying to take down, this makes sense, and for this moment, you know what I mean? It makes sense." So seeing Taskmaster come up pretty much out the cuts, running all these cars over, trying to get to Yelena and Natasha, he ends up getting on top. Taskmaster gets up, opens the roof, uses he has the coolest gear, let's just say. His shield, his sword, his bow and arrow just come out of nowhere. He has the best technology I've ever seen. It's just so sick. We thought Winter Soldier was a cool assassin. Taskmaster's a sick assassin too. I would probably I'd probably put him on the Taskmaster over, the Winter Soldier. I don't know, because of just, you'll know what I mean. I love, the Winter Soldier, aka Bucky, at the same time, but I don't know. Taskmaster's just a whole another level of crazy badass. But seeing that, the Taskmaster come up, use his arrow, and of course, Natasha's like, "Put your seatbelt on," and then the car does a spin move all the way down to the trolley station. And, of course, Natasha's bleeding and stuff. Or actually, not Natasha's bleeding. Yelena's bleeding, and they have to, they're trying to run away. And right as they're sliding down, they get out of the car and slide down into, into the trolley station. What ends up happening, is that, Taskmaster throws the shield and ends up going down with them, chasing after them, and then freaking goes into the cement wall. I mean, the action in this, and especially the capabilities of us finally seeing Taskmaster and what he's capable of, was really sick. It was just phenomenal. Everything that we saw in this movie with Taskmaster. And the reveal on who Taskmaster was, shocked me. I was honestly shocked. I was not prepared for that. So I can't wait to get to that part and, everything. But, seeing all that, and pretty much, they end up getting away, and they're having their funny moments, of course, of, them getting away, he thinks that they're down. Taskmaster thinks they're in, the blood trail to, a different point of, the trolley station, but actually they're up hiding in the air dunks. And pretty much where, she explains that Clint and her were there, back in the Budapest days, trying to go after, Dreykov and everything, in the Red Room, and stop all of that. So I thought that was cool that they're hinting towards stuff that she did in Budapest. They're explaining as they go on with the story. So I really did appreciate that. And of course they end up getting away. She ends up patching herself up. And they go back and forth saying, about like, oh, I thought you were out and all this, and Yelena's like, oh, when people ask me about my sister, I'm like, oh, she has a family, do this, and that. Of course, Natasha's like, that's not my story. We've seen that in the trailers. And, I just love their bonding outside of the action, the character building, and them talking about their past and talking about how, we were a family, and, really you'd see their family dynamic of how they're, like, she really takes offense to how, like, Natasha never looked for her and all this stuff. And Natasha's like, I thought you were fine. And she's like, yeah, right. And all this. And we just see them growing their family back together after all those years. It was really cool to see that. And seeing how Yelena thinks they were a family, but Natasha thinks it was all fake. And we see Alexei again when we end up breaking him out of the prison. The whole prison breakout sequence was really sick. Which I was talking about what he was doing in jail was arm wrestling, talking about his fights with Captain America. And, it was just cool to see all that happen and then break him out and see how he's out of shape. But, he can never let go of, how he thinks it was taken from him, him becoming the next, like, him becoming what, like, even more popular in Captain America and becoming, like, a straight symbol of Russia. And, he's annoyed at, Dreykov for doing that to him, putting him in prison and doing all this stuff to him. And, he's pretty much, he can't get over him being Red Guardian. So pretty much right after they get Red Guardian, a.k.a., or Alexei, a.k.a. Red Guardian in the prison, I love how when they go back and they end up finding, again, I don't know why. I guess it's just very, Melina, finding, finding, where she's been living all this time. Because, they thought she was dead when she got shot when they were trying to get away when they were younger. But the mom is still alive, Rachel Weisz's character. And pretty much, she's been working with, Dreykov all this time, enhancing the Red Room, enhancing the soldiers, enhancing everything. And pretty much, they want to know where the Red Room is. And, Alexei didn't know where the Red Room was. That's why they broke him out. And they're pretty much still pissed at him because, he said it was the mission. It was boring me being your father and, and all this stuff. Like, I wanted to be Red Guardian. I wanted to be back in the action, but I was sent to prison after I was done with you guys. And pretty much he's just being a jerk, essentially. But deep in his heart, he cares for them. He did what he thought was right to make them strong so they wouldn't be killed. And same with, Melina's character. Or not Melina, Melina's character, where she's like, I'm working with them, and I'm not gonna tell you where the Red Room is, this and that, but actually, she's like, we're working for, she thought, I don't know if she knew, essentially, I'm assuming she does by the end of the movie, that she did know that this was all, yeah, she did know, but she was saying, this and that, she's like, do you know it was happening to me, because I guess she was working outside of the jurisdiction of the Red Room, like, no one knew that they were, like, she was still working for them, but yet she was still working for them. She was the science tech of, like, of Dreykov in the Red Room, so she didn't know everything she was making was happening to the widows. So, seeing that dynamic of, Yelena's like, everything you were doing happened to me. You made me not be able to have my free will. None of these girls had their free will, and you did that to us. You were working for the villain. I thought you were my mom and stuff like that. She's like, you were. They were saying in that dinner sequence that this was just a mission. We filled those roles very well. But she's like, you were my mom, you were my dad, you were my sister. It might not be really any of you guys, but it was real to me. And she ends up going off crying, Yelena. And again, Florence Pugh's acting in this was freaking fire. Rachel Weisz's character was really great. She did phenomenal acting. I love her in The Mummy. And David Harbour, I always love him. I love him from Stranger Things. I can't wait for the new season of Stranger Things, but I just loved this movie. All around great acting, great storytelling, just phenomenal. And we end up getting to the build up of us, Natasha coming face to face with Dreykov and trying to take down them. And also, Yelena is trying to do it too. But we end up seeing a sequence where, they're singing the song that we end up hearing. That's Yelena's favorite song when she was a child. They're singing it, while Alexei checks on, Yelena and makes sure she's fine after the, about them saying it was just a mission to them. And pretty much, after that moment, we end up seeing the other widows are there, or the other widows are there, or the troops are there, and they're trying to get them captured and pretty much take them out. But I guess they want to take over Natasha, and they want to take over Yelena again and make them, just mindless soldiers. They want to just do that to them because he's like, I don't have to go and be in hiding anymore if I have an Avenger by my side. And pretty much they had a plan going into this because we see as Alexei gets taken out by these darts. It was funny because there was a lot of funny moments in this movie. But this main funny moment was a moment where like he gets shot with these like darts, and he's like, "You thought a dart could," and then it went, and he just falls asleep and just had me dead. He just gets knocked out. And Yelena is going through. She ends up seeing Natasha on the floor, and then of course Melina is like, I'm sick. She's like, I'm sorry. Ends up shooting Yelena and pretty much knocking her out with the Black Widow blast that they have with the gauntlet. So that ends up happening, and Alexei wakes up on the plane saying like pretty much why. And they put them back to sleep, so they don't know where the headquarters is, where the Red Room is. But it's a floating, it's almost like a floating, I can't even explain it. It's like a ship, but it looks like a city almost. It's like a floating city almost, but it's not. And I thought it was a helicarrier at first, but it's not a helicarrier. It's like this one, building in the sky floating, and that's why they've never been able to find him. So, and then we get that, we end up seeing that this plan has been there the entire time. Actually, Natasha is the one that's in the room with, Dreykov, and actually, Melina's has the mask on of Natasha in the cell with Alexei, and pretty much this has all been a plan from square one to take down the Red Room. And, they all have earpieces in, except, Alexei is like, why don't I have an earpiece in? Why wasn't I in on the plan? What the hell? And just, he ends up fighting Taskmaster. We've seen those scenes in the trailer. But, again, seeing that fight sequence between Taskmaster and Alexei, a.k.a. Red Guardian, was fire. I love that character. Anything to do with Captain America and anything Super Soldier, anything that if you have a shield or anything, I'm there for it, because I just love Captain America with the shield and the Super Soldier powers and everything. I'm there for it. So, to see his other half technically, but for Russia was just super funny. I just loved it. So, seeing that fight sequence go on while, Natasha's up in the room with, Dreykov pretty much beating the crap out of him after she was able to break her nose, because I guess she wasn't able to do anything to him because he has this perfume, this cologne pretty much that makes it so they can't attack him unless he says something that it allows them to do something. So she pretty much breaks her nose and ends up beating the shit out of him, but then he ends up calling in the other widows from the Red Room while Yelena is trying to pretty much use the other antidote to get them out of that, from being controlled. That she needs to, let the gas out so they can realize that, so they can be free. So, while that's going to happen, Dreykov sends them to the room while Yelena is trying to go to the Red Room, ends up finding out that they got sent somewhere else. So while she's trying to do that, I love how, Melina is trying to take out the thrusters, and pretty much she ends up taking it out by shooting up top, ends up crashing down, ends up breaking the thing, and pretty much the place is falling apart, breaking down, and he's still fighting Taskmaster, but then Melina helps Alexei get away from Taskmaster. They end up locking Taskmaster up, and pretty much while that's all going on, she's fighting the other widows. Yelena ends up saving them, all the widows and Natasha, from Natasha pretty much almost being beaten to death by the other widows, which was a cool sequence, her fighting all of them off. But of course, Dreykov is running off. He's trying to hide and stuff, and pretty much get away. That's not happening. And I just loved all that sequence. Everything was happening, and pretty much ends up they're all trying to leave. Alexei and Melina end up getting out of the place, taking a plane or this jet or whatever. And Yelena ends up running after Dreykov, trying to stop him. And, pretty much, Natasha's just trying to get out of the place because she's uploading the file, from Dreykov's ring to open up the file so she can download it so she can give it to, Yelena to free all the other widows and tell them that it's all over, that Dreykov is dead. But we actually end up finding out a little bit earlier before, we find out the actual plan, that actually Taskmaster is Dreykov's daughter. She never died. Natasha never killed her. She thought she killed her. Dreykov, but actually they're both still alive, but she did make major damage to Dreykov's daughter. She had major facial structural damage, and pretty much, again, she's being controlled, so she doesn't know anything pretty much, except that, her father's been controlling her all this time, and she has no anger against Natasha. She knew that what Natasha did was right because how much of a monster her father was. So we end up seeing and, her letting her be free by using the last vial on Dracov's daughter, aka Taskmaster, in the last sequence. But we end up seeing the fight sequence where she's skydiving and end up fighting on all the debris falling down from the craft. And, they get on the ground, and they end up one last fight, which was sick. And the fighting in this was just phenomenal. The CGI, the fighting, everything. I just loved it. I loved it all around. I just loved this movie so freaking much. And the fact that people didn't like it, I'm shocked, because this movie was phenomenal. It was everything I wanted. If anything, I want more of the espionage spy stuff, which I hope we'll see with Yelena's character, because we're going to see her more in the MCU. Other than that, that's pretty much how the movie ends. With all that happening. But then we end up seeing how she ends up calling Thunderbolt Ross pretty much, to meet them on the ground after all this. But she thought, Dreykov probably would have been alive, but actually she ends up, Yelena ends up killing him in the helicopter crash where they're trying to fly away. She ends up pretty much breaking the propeller and ends up blowing up the plane. As she gets on the ground, she tells, Yelena, Alexei, and Melina to all leave with the other widows and, take this drive, go tell them it's all over, let them, free them from being controlled. Here comes Thunderbolt Ross. I'm thinking, oh my god, she's going to get away, right? She's going to get away. Are we going to see, the Quinjet, pick them up? And it's going to be, Cap, going to go get, Sam and all them out of the prison. What's going to happen? But we end up getting to the end of the movie, and we end up seeing, Natasha with her blonde hair. Because, again, we saw little Easter eggs. We saw her gonna die right when she was on the run, and she ends up getting into the trailer. We end up seeing the blonde hair dye. We end up seeing the vest that Yelena ends up buying for her first purchase. She brags about, I got this as my first purchase, This is awesome, isn't it? And, Natasha's like, it's all right, or whatever. She's like, it's awesome. And she's like, I knew you liked it, or whatever. And she ends up giving that vest to Natasha, and we end up seeing that in Infinity War. So there's hints leading into Infinity War that we see here. So as, we end up seeing, Natasha with the blonde hair in her in her outfit, looking the way she looks in Infinity War. We see her, and she's talking to her friend that's been helping her out the entire time in the movie, helping her out with, getting a new identity, getting the camper, getting all this stuff, getting her the Avengers Quinjet, as we end up finding at the end of the movie, or just a Quinjet. I looked at the Avengers Quinjet though, but his name was Mason. That was a cool character. I hope we see him again, maybe later in the line of these movies. We might, I don't know. But, he actually supplies Natasha with a Quinjet. And, and she says, he's like, what are you going to do? And she's like, I'm going to go help my troubled friend right now break out some of our other friends. So, that's what I'm going to go do. Meaning she's going to go help Cap break out, Sam and everybody else out of the raft. And, Sam, Hawkeye, Scott, and, Wanda. All of them out of the raft. And I was really excited to just hear her say that, because it's happy, because we wanted to know those questions, and to see her knowing that how it's just so satisfying how they end up getting out of the raft and them being badasses, end up coming back and saying to Ross, if you don't like it, whatever, we're gonna fight you too, It just seeing all that, where it's gonna lead made me super happy, but it also made me sad because we know what happens to Natasha's character. So that makes me super sad that, I want to see more movies with Black Widow. But, we will with Yelena's character. She's going to be the new Black Widow. So, it is what it is. Because, again, I'm really happy. I loved that character. But, I wanted to see more, I wish we gotten more Black Widow movies sooner. Because then it would have made me feel better, like, okay, we're done seeing what, we're done with Black Widow's character. Okay, let's go on to, Yelena's character. I just wish we would have got more Black Widow movies. It just makes me sad. But I'm very happy because I love Yelena's character, and I can't wait to see where she's going to go. But we end up getting to the end credit sequence, which I knew what the end credit sequence was going to be, because they explained it that, they explained that this person we end up seeing in this end credit sequence was supposed to make her debut in Black Widow before Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but we saw her in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier first before Black Widow. But we see Yelena Fontaine again, or Allegra. I forget her name. It's like something Fontaine. Let me search Allegra. I think her name is Allegra de Fontaine, and we end up seeing her. And pretty much, but before we end up seeing her, we see Yelena going to Natasha's grave. And pretty much, fixing it up, doing all this stuff, pretty much trying to, pay her respects, to be like, just, because this is after, this is after Endgame. I thought we would have saw a sequence where, we see her walking with her dog and maybe it would have dusted and we would have saw where she was going to be later in the MCU. But it's actually after everybody comes back in Endgame and, we know, and she knows that, Natasha's dead. And we end up seeing a moment where, Allegra DeFontaine ends up walking up to, Yelena saying, pretty much giving her an assignment, saying, I know who you can blame for, Natasha's death. I know you can blame. She hands her a file, and it's Clint Barton. Yelena is going to be going after Clint Barton. I said to my sister, I don't think she's going to be able to take Clint Barton because my man's Clint Barton is Ronin now. Like, he is, like, trained in so many levels of different martial arts now and everything now, and he's a bigger threat. He's no longer Hawkeye. Even Hawkeye was a threat, but he's so much more experienced with different, martial arts and different weapons and everything now. And also him, I think we'll probably see Yelena maybe in the Hawkeye series because they're building up the Thunderbolts. And, I'm thinking, why is she a part of this new, of the building of the Thunderbolts? Does she know that, that they're bad? Because she has to know what, John Walker did. She has to know what he did. And she has to know who she's recruiting, and maybe she has to know her background of her being, Madam Hydra. So does she know any of this stuff yet, Yelena, or is this just her knowing, but she's trying to take it down from the inside? I don't know. But all I knew is that, it's going to be very hard for her to go after Barton. And Barton, and me and my sister were talking about, this is an easy explanation. You could just explain to her what happened, and she won't go after him anymore. And maybe she'll end up, but I feel like the reason, she is sending Yelena, as a loaded gun going after Clint is because maybe she had connections to all the guys that Clint Barton killed in, Endgame. Maybe she had connections to them and she's holding a grudge against him and she wants to send a loaded gun pointed at his way to take him out for her. But of course, Clint's going to explain to her and, probably in Hawkeye that, oh my God, Natasha, she risked herself. She sacrificed herself to save the world. I didn't want her to do that. She did it. I didn't do anything to her. And she'll understand that and they'll both go after they'll both go after, Elena DeFontaine. They'll go after her. Or Allegra DeFontaine, they'll go after her with the other, Young Avengers. I'm thinking it's going to be the Young Avengers versus the Thunderbolts. I feel like that's going to be the next Avengers movie because they're building up the Young Avengers. We already have the Wanda's kids. We already have, Yelena. We already have, who else? We already have Kid Loki. We already have, Eli Bradley. We already have, who else? We already have Kate Bishop. We're going to have her in, Hawkeye. And I feel like Yelena's going to go over to Hawkeye because she's going to be going after Hawkeye. And as we all know, that Hawkeye's training Kate Bishop. So, of course, I feel like Yelena is going to be making her appearance in Hawkeye. If not the series, probably at the end credit of that show. Or the last episode of that show. So, I don't know, guys. I really want to know what your theories are of that character and where that character is going to go. Also, I want to know what you guys think. Where do you think Red Guardian is going to go? Alexi, and where do you think, I don't know why. I don't know why. It's just, I don't know why, but it's just this, Rachel Weisz's character. I keep forgetting her name, and I feel really bad. But I love that character. She was a cool character. Why am I forgetting? I'm just blanking, guys. It's been a while. Melina, okay. So I want to know where you guys think those characters are going to go, and I really want to know what you guys thought about this movie. I thought it was a great, awesome time. It was great to be back in the theaters with the Marvel fans, with other Marvel fans. It was great just to be back in the theaters and just to all be around each other and celebrate and have a great time and just be back in the movies, be back, seeing Marvel movies again. It was just phenomenal. So, I just had a blast. Again, the CGI, the action, the characters, the writing, the acting all around was just phenomenal. It was a blast of a time. This movie was really, really good. I can't wait to buy this movie on Blu-ray. I can't wait to see the movie again because I want to see it in IMAX. So I'll probably see it in IMAX this Sunday. So yeah, if you guys just came on here wanting to know if it's a good time, it's a great time. It's a blast. You'll love this movie if you love action, if you love great storytelling, if you love the character Black Widow, if you love and you want to know more about her backstory and where her characters are gonna go. You're gonna love this movie. You're just gonna love this movie. I feel like it did end very. I guess it did give a lot of respect and a good ending conclusion to Black Widow's story. I would say it did very good, but I just really wanted to see more of Natasha. I would love to see more. It's very sad that character went. I think maybe later down the line when we might see that character again, I don't know. No one really ever dies in the comics. And, you know, a lot of people have been coming back in the MCU and stuff. I feel like that's going to be happening a lot soon. So, you know, I feel like we could see that character come back, same as we could see, you know, Chris Evans' Captain America come back probably. So I feel like the doors are always open for these characters to come back. But, you know, if they don't, this was a very great way to end off her story. So, you know, I was very happy with it. But without further ado, guys, I can't wait to hear from you guys in the comments below what you guys thought about this movie and what you guys thought about my movie review. I also, you know, again, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, put on those notifications, like this video. Again, I'm sorry, guys, if it was a little all over the place, but this was a 2-hour-long movie, and there were so many scenes and stuff I liked about this movie, so that's why I kind of had to, like, go, like, with the way of the story, but also, like, jumble around to different parts of the story. I really do hope you guys like this review. But without further ado, I'm going to end this video here. I hope everybody has a great day, a safe day. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.